Welcome back, guys. Got a little bit something different for you today. We'll go take a little stroll in my local park, check out some new music. See you up there. Welcome to my hood in beautiful October, fall in Colorado. And today we're going to go up to the park across my street. Pretty cool little place. And I like to come up here and basically train for harder hiking. It's got a lot of up and down and obstacle courses, things that you can kind of challenge yourself to do up in the Rockies. So while we're up there, I brought a whole pack of CDs that we can take a look at as well, just a collection update. All right, here we are. Set up my phone on a tripod, my little shitty tripod, trying to get some hiking shots, and thought the wind had died down a bit, and the wind completely just knocked over the tripod, and my phone took a pretty hard crash, and it is all cracked up to hell on the screen. But it still works though, and I guess whatever they say about suffering for your art, right? You can add that YouTube library of epic fails here at Future Ends. Goddamn bummer. Alright, I think I finally found a little nook here that's kind of out of the wind. So hopefully we can get through this uninterrupted. So I've got a pile of CDs and tapes that I brought along with me today. Mostly just a collection update, just new stuff that I've gotten recently. The tapes I've got came out on a label called Dread Records. If you're into cassettes and you have not checked those guys out, they've got a lot of cool stuff. They just do a lot of cassette releases of mostly bands that are just kind of hard to find, and that's kind of why I went with these. I kind of started it off to round out my Evil Feast collection, which I don't really have too many of these guys. I've got their new one, and just these two now. I think this Mysteries of the Nocturnal Forest, this is their first full length, which is pretty good. And then Lost Horizons of Wisdom, which this is probably my favorite one. This is just very killer, sort of atmospheric, grim black metal. Just massive keyboard sounds and just synths, very vicious black metal behind that. This label, Dread, yeah, they do a good job on these cassette releases. They've been kind of releasing all these Evil Feast. I've kind of had a hard time finding these on CD, so I kind of just jumped on them, you know, for $7 or whatever they are. It's kind of a bargain. Again, you know, I mean, I know a lot of you guys probably don't like cassettes, but you know, you take care of them, and they're decently made, like labels like this do. I think it's worth it. They're cheap, and these sound fantastic, really good. Sorcier de Glace. I think these guys are Quebecois black metal. Everybody knows them. I often hear about them. I find it kind of hard to find their stuff for a good price. I know most of their CDs are on Galley, but you know, shipping from Canada for whatever reason is just expensive as hell. This is definitely my favorite one, Ritual of the End. I've kind of checked a bunch of this guy's stuff out, you know, on Bandcamp, and some of it kind of blends together, but it is very cool, just cold, raw, but well-produced black metal in the Quebecois style, I guess. Really cold sounding. Some of the other albums I've heard, you know, they kind of just blend together, and I don't know if you guys would recommend any of their other releases that are great. I think this is their newest one, the self-titled, and this is good. It's just like one 50-minute song. Very cool looking blue tape from Dread Records. And I don't know, this one hasn't totally grabbed me yet. It's kind of a exhausting listen, being that it's just this one big epic 50-minute track. It does have some very cool elements in it. Seems like they're sort of experimenting with their style on this new one. I know a lot of people like Snowland. I think that was one of their first ones, which I can't find that for a good price anywhere. So Sur de Glace, SDG, I think everybody calls it. Next up, I got a package in from, I'm not sure how to pronounce this label's name. I think it's Debamore Morty. So you probably know what this is going to be. Of course, it's the new Blooper Nord with Hallucinogen. Been waiting on this one for a while. This is one of those bands that are kind of hit or miss for me. I'm a huge fan of the Memoria Vetusta trilogy. I think that's some of his best stuff, and I think that's kind of just more, you know, his black metal style, atmospheric. Over the years, he's released a lot of stuff, and some of it I like a lot. Some of it I don't really get into, the sort of industrial stuff. It's just not for me. But I was really psyched to hear this new one when a press release came out about it, saying that it was sort of more of a melodic sort of record, which totally piqued my interest, and that it was going to be very, I guess, psychedelic. I really didn't know what to expect when I heard this, and it was interesting when I put it on, because it pretty much sounds like it could fit in with the Memoria Vetusta trilogy, you know, sort of like Dialogue with the Stars. It's definitely has sort of that similar vibe, but I guess it has a little more expansion on the psychedelia aspect of what he's trying to do. And this is another one that's going to take a few listens. Most of their stuff, man, it takes a while for it to sink in, but my first impression was I really enjoyed it. Very melodic. It definitely doesn't sacrifice the black metal style that this guy does, or the weird sort of riffs that he does. It's just more of that. This may be better than the third Memoria Vetusta album. I'm not sure. Time will tell. But man, the artwork is very, very cool. I don't know how well you can see this in the sun here, but because everything's kind of dark. And this really cool black polycarbonate CD, I guess is what it's called. So I didn't have these two, and you know, this is kind of where he went into that more, I wouldn't say industrial, but it's kind of more of that electronica style that he was going for, but just with his weird ass riffs. I really dig this one. I like the production. It's really just loud and in your face. And these are the type of albums that I think I've just got to be in the mood for, but I do enjoy them a lot more than other things that he's done. This is the Desanctification. Very cool artwork on this one. Really dig that. Cool kind of going back to these, because I kind of missed these back when they came out. You know, I'm kind of a later day Blooper Nord fan. You know, I kind of missed them early on, and you know, in the last few years I've really kind of been going back. This one is just really pretty twisted sounding stuff, man. This next one, this is another fantastic Brain Smasher recommendation. Porcus Alba with Waters to Nowhere. Brain Smasher talked about this in one of his more recent videos. I had never heard of this band, or it's just one guy playing guitars, and it's just acoustic and banjo and all kinds of stuff. I think he's from Minnesota, I think. And Ben was kind of talking about how he would listen to this with his mom. I know his mom was getting close to pass away. It's a really heartfelt story. It really pulled at my heartstrings, and the way he described the music here, it just sounded like something totally up my alley. And goddamn is it, man. This is absolutely beautiful. Amazing acoustic, nature-inspired music, folk I think this guy is affiliated with the Nephrons guy. I don't know if he has, or if he's in any bands or anything like this, but this is his solo project. I highly recommend if you guys like, folk acoustic type of stuff, to check this out. It is really, really good. Very emotional stuff. He has the CD, and I also got the vinyl. He got the split vinyl with the band that they're called, and I don't remember the name of them, but it's one of the Falls of Raros guys in this sort of chamber music. They describe it as chamber music. Foret and Dormy? I don't even know how to pronounce it. I think it's something like that. But it's a Quercus Alba split with those guys, and it's only available on vinyl, so I didn't bring the vinyl along with me, but I purchased both, and they're both fantastic. I have not really listened to the Foret and Dormy side too much yet. I did enjoy what I heard from it so far, but I was really just kind of getting the stuff for this guy, Quercus Alba. Man, thanks Ben for this recommendation. This is just amazing stuff, and I really look forward to see what this guy does next. So, Quercus Alba, go check him out on Bandcamp. Support him, man. He's got physical stuff still on sale. Amazing. All right. Next up, I've got the new Bork Nagar, True North, and this is the first record where Vortex is back to being the frontman. When Victor Sorg is no longer in the band. I think everybody was like just going crazy when Erd came out, saying that was just like the best shit that they've done, and I thought that was a good record, but it didn't. Most of the newer Bork Nagar stuff, I feel like every album has like 3 or 4 really good songs, and then the rest of it's just kind of forgettable. I felt that way about the last, about Erd and the last one, Winter Thrice, which still was very good. This one, upon listening to it, I kind of felt the same. Like right off the bat, the first like 4 tracks are fucking fantastic. The song Up North, this has a lot more Vortex on it, which is cool, and Vortex is doing the grim vocals again, and a lot of clean vocals, as well as sharing that with the keyboardist Lars. Victor Sorg was good, but I think they were just kind of overkilling it with all these vocalists, and it's good to just kind of streamline it down to these 2 guys. Like I said, upon listening, the first few tracks blew my mind, and then the rest of it was kind of just, again, like most of their records, just kind of forgettable. But as I've listened to it more, I'm really starting to enjoy the rest of the record more, and this might be the best thing that they've done in a long time. But, you guys that are Vortex fans, I'm sure you've already got this, and the fact that he's back on vocals is really kind of a big pull to get back on the Bork Nagar train. Alright, next up I've got the new Opeth here, and yep, I'm going to go there because I haven't seen anybody go there yet, and I don't expect anybody to go there yet, because most of you have probably written off this band since they went from their death metal glory days to this 70s prog wank bullshit that they've been doing since Heritage. But, I've been an Opeth fan since the early days when Morning Rise came out, very long time. They've released a lot of records that I consider classics, and then they went to this stuff, and this new one is no different than what they've been doing since Heritage. Not that I expected them to, but I've not written these guys off. When they come into town, I still go see them play live. I'm not a huge fan of their new sound at all. In fact, some of it I downright can't stand. But ever since Heritage, each album has usually had like 2 or 3 songs that I actually enjoy. And then usually the rest of it, I can basically just flush down the toilet. Put the guitars as secondary. Everything is smothered in a shitty-ass, whatever organ sound that they use constantly. I like to call it the evil circus clown music, because it sounds like they're playing at a freaking carnival or something like that. That is the one aspect of new Peth that I cannot stand. But I still give it a chance, like I said. And actually, this new one, it has some good stuff. There's even, dare I say, a more Opethian aspect to a couple of the songs. A lot of it is still that goddamn eagle organ you can never get rid of, but I still feel that there are some strong songs on here, and maybe one day Opeth will come back to greatness. This is just good. I don't know. Like I said, I'll always give them a chance. Just buy the CD and whatever. Alright, next up, Exhorter. Now, I've got a special place in my heart for this band as well. I told you guys I'm from New Orleans, and these were the heroes for so long. I mean, this is their first record in like 26 years or something like that. I've gotten to see them play a few times back in the day, and those first 2 records are classics. I'm not really a huge thrash fan, but you know, arguably these guys started that sort of power groove thing that Pantera made famous. I think that's true because these guys were around doing that shit way before Pantera. I've got the flyers to prove it. But they've always kind of just sort of drifted in and out. Like they would come back after a few years and do some shows. And it's too bad that they never got to keep the momentum going, because they probably could have made quite a career for themselves if they would have, you know, done a lot more. But at this point, 26 years later, these guys are a lot older. There's only 2 guys from the original lineup. The rest is a new band. But this is good shit, man. The really good riffs. It doesn't really sound like their old stuff. It sounds like they've kind of just maybe not as special as they once were, but solid riffs, solid production. Lyrics are cheesy as hell, but there's some good songs on here, and I'm happy to support these guys, man, because they deserve a lot more success than they got. And it's good to see that they finally got something out on a major label that supported them, and they're actually going on tours again and stuff. So, man, that's killer in my book. Let's see. All right, just got a few left. A couple of these I've kind of just been sitting on. I actually found this for $4 at my local record store. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but this is chthe'ilist with Les Derniers Crépuscules. Les Derniers, I don't speak French, I don't know. Heard this talked about for a long time. I've been meaning to pick up a copy of it. Yeah, like I said, found it for $4, and this, if you're into Blood Incantation, it's kind of similar, maybe a little bit more cavernous in terms of the vocals, but it's cool to hear bands doing this kind of stuff. I know they're doing the Demolic thing, which, you know, so is Blood Incantation, but it's cool to see that these bands are kind of taking what those guys did and, you know, doing some new stuff with it. I think this is really kind of some of the better shit to come out recently in death metal, chthe'ilist. I'm really looking forward to follow up these guys as well. This has been out for a while. You probably already know about it, but I'm finally glad to have a copy of it. All right, next up, I've been sitting on this one for a while too, but this is the New Mournful Congregation with the Incubus of Karma. And man, this is one of those bands as well that, man, you've got to be in the mood for it. At least I do. I only can go so far with Funeral Doom type stuff because I just find some of it to just get a little too samey and boring for me. I love Evoken. I like Shape of Despair. And I think this band, as far as Funeral Doom goes, really kind of takes the crown. This stuff is just, this is a really dense listen as well. I think the longest song on here is like 22 minutes. But well produced, very cool melodic ideas going on in this. You really got to be in the mood for it, but there are moments that they reach on here that are just quite transcendent, I think, if you give it time. So I went and saw Blood Incantation and Immolation a couple weeks ago, which was fantastic. And if you've not seen Blood Incantation live yet, you need to if they're coming to your town, because, man, they're almost better live than they are on record. I was just blown away. I mean, even the vocals sounded even better live than on record. But they played a lot of new stuff. Sounded awesome. Really looking forward to that new record. I definitely have a lot of gaps in my Immolation collection, but they did not have a whole lot for sale at the merch booth, other than just shirts and hoodies and whatnot. But they did have the Providence EP, and I think it was The Dark Path. Another YouTuber showed this pretty recently. I think he got to see the show in his town as well. This was the only CD that they were selling, so I had to pick up something. This is just the EP that they put out for Scion some years ago. Man, Immolation's just been killing it left and right for years, and this is no exception. Just 5 more awesome Immolation tunes. Illumination. I love the last track on here, Swallow the Fear. That is just such a killer, awesome Bob Vigna riff fest. You know, he's got a very unique style, and that really shines through on that last track, Swallow the Fear. What to say about the Legends, man? You know, seeing them live, it was great. I hadn't seen them in years, and you know, they've played a lot of new stuff off their new record, which is really one of the best things they've done, I think. Well, that's it for today's little jaunt here at my little neighborhood park. Boy, I had some major issues today. I gotta get better at this shit. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Later.